All right, let's talk about startup survival. Because it's not always about raising those huge, flashy rounds of funding. Sometimes the most powerful strategy is actually something much quieter, much simpler. It's a way to find your freedom, get your focus back, and basically become impossible to kill. And it all starts with a concept called Ramen profitability.
So, let me ask you something. If you had to guess the #1 reason a startup dies, what would you say? I bet for 99% of people the answer is they ran out of money, right? I mean, that's the obvious answer. But what if that's not the whole story? What if that's just the symptom and not the real disease?
Because the real killer, the thing that happens before the bank account hits zero, is demoralization. It's this slow, grinding pressure that just wears you down. It sucks away your energy, your creativity, and your will to keep fighting. The source material for this says the low points are, and I quote, unbelievably low. And when you lose that morale, you stop solving problems, and that's when the countdown clock really starts ticking. So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the typical high-stress path most startups are on by default. Then we'll get into the ramen profitable escape route. We'll see how it completely transforms your morale, how it lets you flip the entire script with investors, and why it gives you the ultimate form of leverage, just staying alive.
Okay, so let's dive into that default path. For most early-stage founders, life is a constant race against time. There's this incredible weight on your shoulders, this feeling that you're personally responsible for everything. And that runway, that lifeline of cash, is always getting shorter.
And what's at the heart of all that pressure? The fundraising treadmill. Suddenly, building your product isn't the main thing you think about. Fundraising is. It's the first thing you think about in the morning, the last thing at night. It's just a black hole for your attention. And these conversations with investors, man, they can be brutal. You get caught in this cycle of getting your hopes up, a deal falls through, and you just get crushed. It's a recipe for burnout.
So how do you get off that treadmill? Is there an escape hatch before you just slam into the wall at the end of your runway? Well, yes, there is. And it's a goal so simple, yet so powerful that it completely redefines what success looks like in those early days. It's called ramen profitability.
And yeah, it is exactly what it sounds like. It's the point where your company is bringing in just enough cash to cover the founder's bare-bones living expenses. We're talking rent, bills, and yeah, maybe some ramen noodles. This isn't about getting rich. It's about becoming self-sufficient. It's about making it so the clock can't kill you. You become, in a way, infinite.
And this story just perfectly illustrates the power of this. When the founders of Airbnb got into Y Combinator, they were practically broke. They were literally funding the company with a binder full of maxed out credit cards. They'd had an investor get up and walk out in the middle of a pitch. So their goal wasn't some huge multi-million-dollar round. Nope, their goal was to become ramen profitable. It was their last-ditch effort to survive.
Okay, so hitting this tiny little milestone, it does something incredible. And it's not really about the money. It's about what happens in your head. It's the psychological power that comes from knowing, deep down, that you are no longer on a countdown to death.
I mean, just look at the difference here. It's night and day. Before, fundraising is everything. You feel totally vulnerable, desperate even. You might have to take a terrible deal just to survive. But after you hit ramen profitability, the product is back to be #1. You feel confident, you're in control, and you have this powerful knowledge that, hey, if you just keep going, things are gonna get better. You've escaped that default state of just waiting to die.
And that feeling of control, it completely changes the game when you do decide to raise money. Because now you're not fundraising to survive, you're fundraising to grow faster. You get to completely flip the script on investors.
You see, the old script, whether you say it out loud or not, is basically a plea for help. It's, please, sir, we need your money just to keep the lights on. And investors can smell that desperation a mile away. It puts you in the worst possible position to negotiate.
But when you're ramen profitable, you walk into that room with a whole different kind of energy. Your pitch becomes, look, we are going to succeed with or without you. We're default alive. But your capital could help us do it a lot faster. And let me tell you, there is almost nothing more attractive to an investor than a company that doesn't actually need their money.
And that really brings us to the whole point of this strategy. The greatest leverage you can have in the startup world isn't some amazing patent or a big-name advisor. It's simply not dying. Survival is your superpower.
So let's just quickly recap this. The real enemy isn't an empty bank account. It's demoralization. Ramen profitability is your shield. Just enough money to cover your basic living costs. Hitting that goal gives you this incredible psychological boost, lets you get back to focusing on your product, and totally flips the power dynamic with investors. At the end of the day, it's amazing how far you can get by just refusing to give up.
So I'll leave you with this one final thought, especially for any founders watching. Ask yourself, what's your actual goal here? Is it just to raise the next round of funding? Or is it to build something that truly cannot be killed? Because if it's the second one, then becoming Ramen profitable isn't just another milestone on a checklist. It's your first real taste of becoming unstoppable.